their keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show. I want to talk about 10 big takeaways we get from the schedule for the San Francisco 49ers. The schedule is pretty fun. There's going to be a lot of really cool games, holiday games, primetime games, exciting times for the San Francisco 49ers and the fans. Everyone talking about the schedule, and I have 10 big takeaways of the San Francisco 49ers schedule. And the schedule is a pretty fun one to look at. It starts out in Pittsburgh, ends in Los Angeles against the hated Rams. So lots of cool stuff to get into. I can't really wait for this one. So let's bring up the schedule so everyone can see it. And as we go through these, I'll just kind of give you guys reasons why. Number one reason why the 49ers, a big takeaway from this schedule is 49ers will stay in Youngstown from week 6 to 7. So in week 6, they play the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. That's an early game at 10 a.m. And then in week 7, they play in Minnesota on Monday night versus the Minnesota Vikings. 49ers like to do this with this East Coast type of trip. They tell the NFL every single year that they want to have these games grouped up so that way they don't have as much travel in 2020. New York Jets, New York Giants, back-to-back weeks. And of course, last year they did the same sort of thing with Carolina and Atlanta. So the 49ers definitely like when they get these games grouped together, and this one is another perfect example with them playing the Browns in Cleveland. It's likely that the 49ers will stay in Youngstown, so right there in the backyard, and then play Minnesota Vikings on that Monday Night Football. That was a big takeaway. There's always these trips. The 49ers feel like they get galvanized by this grouping of staying together, the brotherhood, and this will be that time, and it's going to be a tough stretch for the 49ers. Cleveland, of course, will be in year 2 of Deshaun Watson at the helm at quarterback. Just made a trade for Zadarius Smith recently. He's going to be rushing opposite of Myles Garrett. So exciting times for Cleveland. And then Minnesota, prime time, Kirk Cousins, Kyle Shanahan. Like it just kind of writes itself. Last year, Minnesota was a playoff team, pretty good team. 49ers are going to have to go out there and compete and be able to beat them on prime time on Monday night. Number 2 takeaway from this schedule, week 12 to 14 is an absolute critical stretch. In week 12, the 49ers are at the Seahawks on Thanksgiving. It doesn't get much more than must win than playing the Seahawks, and it's always tough to play in Seattle. The 49ers are going to have to go in there and get it done. It's a short week because it's Thursday Night Football, but it's so critical because next game up after that is the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles are probably going to be rolling at some point during the season. Will this be that time? I don't know, but this is the best time to take advantage. If you can beat Seattle and then have the extra days, 11 days to prepare for the Eagles, with the Eagles playing the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills in back-to-back weeks, 49ers are the third part of that. They have an excellent opportunity, if they can still win in Seattle, to be able to beat not only Seattle but Philadelphia within a 11-day period, which would be huge for their playoff hopes. Because guess what? After the Eagles game, Seattle will be at Levi's Stadium, and this time Seattle will have an 11-day head start on preparing for the 49ers. So they're going back-to-back Thursday games, which means they get to prepare for the 49ers in that last matchup in week 14. So it's a critical stretch. The 49ers were able to walk away with 2 of those 3 games. I think everyone would be excited, especially if 2 of those games included victories over Seattle and Philadelphia. That could mean the 49ers are securing home field advantage or getting pretty close to it. It's an absolute critical stretch in the season. And the 49ers are going to have a tough one, but if they can get it done, it could be huge for their playoff hopes. Seattle, that's like their kind of long bye because their bye week comes in week 5. So that'll be a critical stretch for them as well. In the number 3 takeaway is 49ers face 4 teams coming off byes. There's going to be 4 of these football teams that they're going to play that are going to come off byes. We mentioned Seattle coming off a mini bye, but there's other teams as well. Cincinnati Bengals, Jacksonville Jaguars. They're coming off byes, which means extra preparation time to be able to prepare for the 49ers. Now, the Jacksonville one, the 49ers are coming off a bye as well, so more equal opportunity. But something to keep in mind is sometimes these types of things give other teams an advantage. What you're hoping is if somebody's coming off a bye, they're playing you at home, so at least you have a home field advantage in that regard. If it's on the road, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So the 49ers are playing 4 teams coming off byes on this current schedule. Reason number 4, 49ers have 4 games in the early window, which means 10 a.m. start. Those are going to be tough ones, and it starts with the Steelers in week 1. That's going to be a tough game, a 10 a.m. start, and those games are never easy. But then at the Cleveland Browns in week 6 is another one. In week 10, coming off the bye against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a 10 a.m. start. A 10 a.m. start again on New Year's Eve against the Washington Commanders. So the 49ers are going to have to make sure their body clocks are in order. And when you're going to the East Coast, the travel enough is difficult to prepare for. But now starting at 10 a.m. is tough. You're hoping those don't normally come there. The Commanders game could get flexed if the 49ers are playing really well and the Commanders are in the playoff hunt. That is potentially a game that can be moved to more of a game of the week or something like that. Even a 125 start would be huge for the San Francisco 49ers. The early ones are probably not going to get flexed. You can't get flexed till week 12. So it doesn't look like the 49ers are going to be having some of their early games flexed. More than likely, just one is a possibility. So that's going to be a little bit of a tough thing for the 49ers to deal with. The 49ers have 5 primetime games, including 3 holiday matchups. I mean, number 5 is 5. 5 primetime games is the maximum that you are supposed to be able to get. And the 49ers are definitely a team that the NFL is wanting to play on the biggest stages of their most important games. The fact they're playing the nightcap of Thanksgiving shows you the value of their team against the Seahawks. And then they're playing on Christmas Day as well. So they're definitely a team that the NFL is interested in having displayed, and they're having some big games in those situations. So 49ers are definitely one of the premier teams in the NFL, and I think the numbers in the playoffs as far as ratings go have proven that. 49ers versus Cowboys are pulling huge ratings when they match up in the playoffs, and I think the 49ers are just a team that everyone wants to see. The number 6 takeaway, 49ers' first 4 games set up nice. When I say they set up nice is every game in the NFL is tough, but if you can have games that you feel like you have an advantage because you're a better football team, that allows you to go ahead and get your legs underneath you and be able to execute and win. And we've seen the 49ers start slow, and they've had some tough matchups over the last several years. Early on in seasons, they'll often play down to the competition. So with a concern about who's going to be pulling the trigger at quarterback, whether that's Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, the 49ers are going to have to get into a rhythm early. And no matter who that is, the chemistry with on the offensive side of the ball is going to have to be displayed. Yeah, there's not a lot of changeover in a lot of positions, mainly right tackle with Colton McKivitz. But other than that, it's pretty well documented this team is good to go and pretty built off of what they did last year in the NFC Championship game. So playing at the Steelers is not an easy matchup, but it's a winnable football game. And then at the Rams is another winnable game. The 49ers always play really good at SoFi Stadium. And I think that, that's something that you really like. If you're going to your first couple road games, if one of them's in LA, that's nothing. That's an hour flight. No big deal for you. But then you play the Giants, and that's your toughest matchup of the first 4. But once again, you play them at home. And so that is a remarkable advantage for the 49ers, even though the Giants are playing on Thursday Night Football the week before in Arizona and will have a mini bye. The 49ers still have an advantage there because it's at home. So the best team that they play in the stretch, they're playing at home. That's good news. And then they're at home versus the Cardinals for the 4th of that four team matchup. And it's a good chance the 49ers could win that one with the Cardinals having one of the worst rosters in the entire NFL. Also, no Kyler Murray. So there's some good things to like about this schedule setting up for the 49ers, and maybe they can get off to a nice start. The reason number 7, weeks 2, 4, 10, 11, 15, and 18 are must wins. So I picked out those 6 games as must wins for the 49ers. 2, of course, being the Rams. Number 4 being the Cardinals that we just talked about. Number 10 being the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're a good football team, yes, but you're coming off your bye, must win. 11, you're playing the Bucs. This is not Tom Brady, so you got to figure you have a really good chance to win that. It is at home. Week 15, you're playing the Arizona Cardinals again. That's a must win. Kyler Murray will probably be back, but you're a better football team than the Arizona Cardinals. You need to win that. It's a divisional matchup. And week 18 against the Rams. So you see 4 of these matchups are against Cardinals and Rams. Those are must wins, divisional matchups, but also teams that you are better than. You have a better roster. You're a better football team than them. And barring injury, you should go ahead and defeat them. So those are must win games. Number 8. Bengals game is the toughest. The Cincinnati Bengals game, it's at home, but it is definitely the toughest game on the entire schedule. The Bengals will be coming off a bye, and they've got a lot of weapons. And last time the 49ers matched up with them was in 2021. The 49ers won in overtime with Brandon Ayuk sneaking down the sideline and into the end zone for a touchdown. It was just a remarkable game. But I think the Bengals coming off that bye week is going to make it difficult for the 49ers to be able to prepare and play for them, especially playing the Vikings on Monday night before that and that stretch where you're staying in Youngstown. 49ers are going to be coming off that long trip and then have a short week of practice as they play the Bengals team coming off a bye. That's the toughest matchup. The Bengals are going to have plenty of time to prepare for the 49ers, and the 49ers are coming off a short week. So that one appears to be the most difficult. Really good football team, a team that's been to the Super Bowl and then to the AFC Championship over the last 2 years, and coming off a bye with a very talented roster. That one seems to be the most difficult on the 49ers schedule. Week 9 bye is great for the 49ers. That's number 9. Week 9 bye is great. Same place they had it last year, right on the same weekend, and it's a nice time to have it. Sort of splits your season up in 2, so you can get healthy after that. So you play tough, you get healthy, you get that week off, and then you're able to somewhat recover, and it comes after the Bengals game. So last year, the same sort of thing happened. They had a tough time against the Kansas City Chiefs, and then they were able to get a bye. So the 49ers, it's setting up really nice for them again this year as far as where the bye is and how it works on the schedule. So that's good news for the 49ers. And number 10, the number 10 takeaway, big takeaway from the schedule is 49ers face 9 2022 playoff teams. So it's actually 10 games against 2022 playoff teams, but Seattle twice. So the 49ers are going to have, 7 games against non-playoff teams from 2022. Their schedule was actually ranked 15th toughest in the entire NFL, which is really good. When you win your division, normally it's very tough for you the next season, but because of the way the schedule worked out and the teams that the 49ers were supposed to play, it has somewhat balanced out. Now, 3, 4, 5 weeks into the season, you can kind of throw this out the window, as some teams will be playing really well and some teams will not be playing as good. So it's an interesting setup for the 49ers, but I think it's a favorable setup in a lot of categories. Playoff teams from last year, the New York Football Giants, the Dallas Cowboys, the Minnesota Vikings, of course, the Bengals, Jacksonville Jaguars, Seattle Seahawks, Philadelphia Eagles, Baltimore Ravens, and Washington Commanders. And all of them are on the schedule, but they're kind of spread out sporadically throughout, with the toughest stretches like we went over earlier, right there, kind of when the 49ers play Seattle twice and play the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles, on the other hand, have the number 1 toughest schedule in the NFL. So they're not being rewarded. Whenever you have to play Kansas City, Buffalo, and San Francisco in a 3-game stretch, that's tough sailing. The Seattle Seahawks are going to have the 13th toughest schedule in the NFL. 49ers also are traveling over 29,000 miles this year, with Seattle going over 31,000. So definitely not the most, but it is a lot. Now, with the 49ers staying in the Cleveland area, probably in Youngstown, that will help as well. So those are 10 big takeaways I had from the schedule. I'm curious what all you guys think. Do you think Cleveland is going to be the toughest matchup for the San Francisco 49ers? I'm sorry, Cincinnati is going to be the toughest matchup for the 49ers. What do you think about the schedule? And do you have a takeaway that I didn't come up with? If you do, let me know. I would love to hear it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate all the subscriptions. Pushing towards 4K right now. And we're going to have a lot of fun during this offseason as we push towards training camp and then towards the NFL season. Thank you guys so much for watching. But until the next one, stay safe and remember the right way is always the 49ers way.